What railway station has the most train operating companies which serve it? Well, there's actually quite a few, and the record is 7. Crewe is one of them. Let's see if I can name all 7. London North Western Railway, because that's who I came with, because they offer cheaper tickets. I actually stopped at some new stations on the way down here. Avanti West Coast, Cross Country, even though I think there's some very limited services. Northern, East Midlands, what else? The Sleeper. I didn't stop here when I did the Sleeper. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, Transport for Wales. Transport for Wales as well. And on the journey out of Crewe, because I'm only changing here, I want to keep an eye out the window to see if I can spot the advanced passenger train. This holds the record for the fastest journey between London and Glasgow.
The APT achieved the record with a 3-hour and 52-minute time in 1984, but despite its speed, it never really took off and wasn't in passenger service for very long. On this journey from Crewe, I stopped at some more new stations, including one called Acton Bridge. Now, there's a lot of Acton stations in London, but this is the only one outside of it, and the only one I have not done.
I've bailed at Liverpool's South Parkway station, which is a relatively new station that opened in 2006 to provide better connections to Liverpool John Lennon Airport. But originally this was 2 separate stations called Allerton, over on this side, and Garston way on the other side, which is now part of the Merseyrail network. Well, that was my first Merseyrail experience. I took one of their new trains, just one stop to the end of the line here at Hunts Cross quickly before I head back. Things to note from these new trains, they might not have the most comfortable seats, and I feel like the headrest looks a bit odd for some reason, but they have level boarding, they have plug sockets, they have great information displays showcasing the distance between stations, how long it takes, whatever, the entire route, and I really like the poles in the middle because they're split into 3, so when it's busy during the peak, rather than everyone cramming onto holding one pole, it's kind of shared, which is quite nice. I'd like to see that perhaps more on other new built trains. The plan for today is to make my way towards Liverpool on Merseyrail, stopping at some of the stations along the way. They have an every 15-minute service, so I can do quite a few quite quickly. So Cressington is one of the stations I'm going to jump out at and wait 15 minutes for the next train. But it seems to be quite a cute little station actually. It seems to be an old well over on the other platform too.
It has a very village-like feel, Cressington, and was originally known as Cressington and Grassendale Station.
The next station is Aigburth, which I'm quite proud I managed to pronounce correctly the first time, for Otterspool Promenade, it says on this old sign here. I believe there actually used to be a disused, well, what is now a disused station called Otterspool, which was one stop up. Rather than wait here 15 minutes, because it's me, I'm going to be doing a bit of exploring, going to do a bit of a walk to the next station, which is not Otterspool, but it is St Michael's. Well, if the opportunity presents itself to walk along the Otterspool Promenade, I might as well, because a visit to Liverpool won't be complete without a little bit of the River Mersey. And we get to walk this up towards the next station. I'm surprised with just how wide it is at this point. It's a beautiful day for it to be beside the Mersey, but this is where my first walk along it has come to an end. I'll see it again later, but I've got to head up to St Michael's by passing through Festival Gardens. Ah, there's a Chinese pagoda here in Festival Gardens. That's quite cool. Reminds me of Victoria Park in London now. I've come across one of these. It's by a rather dried out lake though. And now we've left Festival Gardens, we've got a nice woodland walk through to the station. The line through here opened in 1864 and some of the other stations had previous names. Cressington was Cressington and Grassendale, Egbert was Mersey Road, and then Mersey Road and Egbert. But St Michael's has never been renamed, it's held on to that original name ever since. This line was actually closed between 1972 and 1978, and when reopened, terminated at the Garston station, which is now Liverpool South Parkway, and it took until 1983 for the line to be brought through to Hunts Cross. The original Brunswick station acted as a terminus for the line from 1864 to 1874, and this current one only dates from 1998. Again, it's relatively new, but it's also a very long time ago now. I think that's why the tracks start to curve as it makes its way up towards Liverpool, as the terminus station used to just be straight on here. I guess because of its more modern status, it doesn't have as nice of a station building as the other stations we've seen so far. Keeping up with the railway history, there was another line that ran right beside the one here at Brunswick, known as the Liverpool Overhead Railway. I think this ramp here might be the alignment, or even what's left, of that old railway. And you get a great view from on top of the ramp of the Century building that was depicted on the older station sign. I like them signs. The original terminus of the Liverpool Overhead Railway was just over there at a station called Herculaneum Dock. But in 1896 it was rerouted and brought through that railway tunnel to reach a station called Dingle. But in 1956 the entire thing closed. It's quite weird to come across an old railway tunnel that high up. You would think it would be at ground level, but it's really showcasing its name, Overhead Railway. I like that it's even labelled as such on the mouth of the tunnel itself. And I'm back beside the River Mersey, presumably right next to the old Herculaneum Dock, which is a good name by the way. And this really is the main walk of the day now, as this will bring us in towards Liverpool city centre. I've reached the part of the Mersey where it leads into some of Liverpool's docks, and you start to see the skyline of the city, including what is apparently the biggest cathedral in the country. It's here in Liverpool. Wow, there's a better view of it. Such a majestic building, the biggest cathedral in the country. It's just a line of huge major event buildings here, an exhibition centre and the M&S Bank Arena, and the tide of the Mersey is even going out. Behind the M&S Bank Arena you have the Wheel of Liverpool. I mean, I just look at this and think of the London Eye, but opposite it you have Albert Dock, which I think we can walk through rather than alongside the River Mersey. I am loving the Albert Dock. This feels like a very trendy, vibey place in Liverpool. It's very nice. I continue to walk through the Albert Dock, and when you get to the other side and turn back, you get a great view of the wheel poking out over the top of the buildings. A couple of transport related things to look out for whilst around this area is an old Routemaster bus that's been turned into a diner, and an old Great Western Railway warehouse as well. For most of my walk along the River Mersey, I've been humming and singing to myself the song Ferry Cross the Mersey by Jerry and the Pacemakers, so considering there's a commuter service from here across to the other side of the Mersey, I felt obligated to go for a ride on one of them. was much more fun than taking the Woolwich ferry, for example. Quite a good price as well, only a £3 single, but it feels quite odd to go from heavily built up, busy Liverpool over on that side to just a very quiet riverside path on this one, where you're just kind of out in the suburbs and there's not a whole lot here. Fantastic views looking back towards Liverpool on the other side. Of course, I'm gonna have to go back over there, so I'll make my way down towards the station and jump back on Merseyrail. This is a perfect time of day to be walking alongside a river like this, and such a perfect day for it as well. The weather's just really nice. And now that we're on the other side from the city centre, it feels a lot like this is the forgotten part of the River Mersey, where no one ever really comes, because you got this disused accumulator tower here. Feel like this wouldn't be on people's radar to visit during their first time in Liverpool, but alas, I'm here. Continuing the theme of disused towers here, you have the central hydraulic one, which is right opposite the port, and you can see a lot of lorries lined up, which you can take a ferry not just across the Mersey but all the way over to Ireland. I've just crossed over Egerton Bridge. The walk to the station is coming to an end, and I've come across what looks to be at first an old railway line that maybe served the docks, but when you look above you'll realise that actually it's an old tramway, and the tram tracks run into the Wirral Transport Museum here, so presumably they actually do run old trams along this route sometimes. That would be fun to do. Tucked behind the Transport Museum you have the alignment of an old railway line. I don't think you're going to run any old trains down there though anymore. And my main Liverpool explore of the day comes to an end here at Hamilton Square Station in Birkenhead. We've seen a couple of disused towers. This station here has a fantastic one that's not abandoned. Now, because we have to get back over the other side of the River Mersey and there's no bridge, Merseyrail here at Hamilton Square Station heads underground to serve the city centre, and there's this weird one-way loop that trains take to head back to here afterwards, which is one of the most curious little parts of the National Rail network, and I'm quite excited to travel on it because it's as close as Liverpool has to a system like the London Underground. And this is the tube-like platform of James Street. It even gives me vibes of London because I can hear running water down in the tunnel, which reminds me of stations like Wapping underneath the River Thames. Now, there's not a whole lot to the Liverpool-bound platform, but if you were to head over to the other one, you would find that there's even a disused third platform, which has some heritage-like features to them. Now, the world's first underground railway opened in London in 1863. But that was built using a cut and cover technique. The deep level tube didn't come until what is now the Northern Line in 1890. But these stations here, Hamilton Square and James Street, opened in 1886. And so this is the world's first deep level underground stations. And it even has a tube-like roundel on the disused platform too. Now, my plan here was to head back underground and continue to the next station, but as I was walking through Albert Dock earlier, I saw fridge magnets with Matthew Street on, which I hadn't heard of, so I decided to look up what that was and discovered that it was quite close to St James Street Station. So I decided to go and have a look, and I discovered that this is the street where essentially the Beatles was formed, as the Cavern Club here was where not just them but a lot of very notable people have played over the years. I knew at least of their strong links to Liverpool, but I didn't know of this street, and walking down it on a Friday evening where a lot of clubs were playing music, there was quite a vibe to it, so I'm glad I decided to check it out, as I felt like I got to experience a little bit of what Liverpool is famous for. Well, after the excitement of experiencing the city centre vibes of Liverpool, I'm back by the next station, Moorfields, which is on that city underground loop which opened in the 70s. But prior to that opening, trains used to run into a Liverpool exchange station, which is still here, and it even mentions as such on top. As grand as the station building is for Liverpool Exchange, what replaced it here at Moorfields is very, very grim in comparison, if I'm being honest. And down the escalators into Moorfields station, just getting more vibes of the London Underground really, but it really hurts my London brain to see a Northern Line sign in blue, Piccadilly blue, because the Merseyrail network is split into the Northern Line and the Wirral Line. They both have different names serving different branches.
I was on the Northern Line earlier from stations between Hunts Cross and Brunswick, but Hamilton Square and the city centre loop is part of the Wirral Line.
This definitely feels like the deepest station of the day, though we've got other ones on the loop we haven't done yet. But it's so quiet down here. I'm quite surprised by that really. It reminds me more of Essex Road Station, which is no longer on the Underground network, especially as it has this line diagram here, which rather helpfully shows how long it takes to get to all of the stations. I just realised, because I was so focused on the City Loop, I could have actually caught the Northern Line as it just comes straight to Liverpool Central, because I didn't actually jump out at Liverpool Lime Street, as I will just do that tomorrow on my way home. And yes, tomorrow, because this is a two-part adventure up in Merseyside, up on Merseyrail in Liverpool. Liverpool Central is the busiest underground station outside of London, and considering that I've been mentioning the London Underground a lot, I would actually say that Merseyrail reminds me a lot of the Tyne and Wear Metro up in Newcastle, because that has a very yellow brand to it too, and I think is even getting new trains like Merseyrail has done quite soon as well. I'm really surprised with how quickly it's gotten dark. I've thoroughly enjoyed my day out in Liverpool. I had so much fun. Join me for part 2, where I explore more of the Wirral lines.